Alright, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I am back, and it is time for another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. Today we have got ourselves a absolute banger of a match. It is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss on the map Eternal Empire. And as far as the Zerg and Protoss go, we've got some of the best of the best. In the bottom left, it is Dark. I believe he's on Team Dragon Phoenix Gaming, a very good StarCraft 2 team. Dark, one of the best Zerg players in the world, if not the best Zerg player in the world. He's just incredibly talented. And his opponent, the Protoss player, is Raise Your Edge Zest. Zest is an incredibly strong Protoss player. He's kind of one of the most chaotic Protoss players, I'd say, because sometimes Zest looks incredibly strong, but other times he's like... it looks like he doesn't really have a clear plan in mind, and that... so it's really odd. Sometimes he plays like the most precise builds, but then other times like... it seems like he's just kind of, just winging it in a sense. It's really odd, but Zest, a very good Protoss player to watch. And then Dark, of course, a very good Zerg. So far, we have had Zest in this match being a bit of a pain. He has been pylon blocking Dark, essentially forcing Dark to expand to the third base. If we paid closer attention at the very start of the replay, and if I didn't have such a long intro, we would be looking at basically Zest sending out a probe before his pylon or anything else in order to ensure that the probe gets here before the Zerg takes that early hatchery. Now, so Dark, he's had to take the other third base location. It's not going to hinder him too much. If you're a Zerg, it's one of those things you have to put up with. It's just life. Life just is that way sometimes. To make up for it, to ensure he has his natural up quite speedily, Dark is going to take the third base before he gets up both of his queens. So a slight build alteration there. I guess he just wants to make sure he has his natural up, so maybe he can get his drones there sooner as opposed to having drones at his third base. I'm not a Zerg, but I try my best to try and understand the Zerg. Now we have got Dark just sending a couple of Lings in. This one Ling is the pesky Ling, the Ling which makes you be like, wait a second, is that supposed to happen? This Ling, it just runs into the main base and there's nothing there to stop it. And yes, this is something that does tend to happen in StarCraft 2 because the first Adept moves across the map, as we are seeing here, while the second one takes a bit of time to pop out. So this one pesky Ling gets into the main base. It scouts the Twilight Council, which is a nice scout for Dark, identifying that it isn't a Stargate opener. That's basically the one thing that Protoss has to do. Now, this Adept, she's got to be careful because there is Lings out, so she's going to start shading back 3 minutes and 15 seconds into the game. Your Adept better be heading on home. Otherwise, those Lings could definitely catch her. And you don't want to lose your first Adept. Now, we've got Zest. He's using his Twilight Council, or he actually had started up Resonating Glaives, but he changed his mind, so a bit of uncertainty from Zest, it would seem. He starts up a Dark Shrine as opposed to going for Resonating Glaives, so a bit of a build choice there. Stalker going to shoo away this Overlord. Dark was hoping to sneak it into the main base to scout this Dark Shrine or whatever tech was being made from Zest. Instead, it's going to be a Dark Shrine. Potentially just the DTs hoping to catch Dark off guard. I wouldn't bank on that against a player as good as Dark. However, you can also go for the Archon drop as well. Now, the thing is, though, if we take a look at the production tab for Dark, he could actually just be going full-on aggression because we haven't seen any Spore Crawlers, and he's stopped at 24 workers. Now, this is actually, I believe, just a build order win from Zest because Dark is going for an attack, but Zest, he's going to be able to just warp in DTs in order to defend. Of course, the Lings may be able to kill the probes as this is going on. So it's going to be a bit of a base race in a sense. Zest just needs to buy as much time as he can. He's warping in one Adept behind this, but he's going to need to warp in a defensive DT or two. There we go. 3 DTs get warped in at home. Now, Dark is going to know about this. I mean, he sees his units dying to the invisible DTs, but his plan is just to kill as many workers as he can while this is going on. The DTs will clean up this attack, but it'll take some time. I like the choice from Zest to put the DT in the wall to block the further units from getting on in. All the while, Zest is going to be hoping to get his DTs into Dark's main base at some point. So we are entering a bit of a full-on base race based on the detection. If Zest didn't have these DTs, there's a good chance he'd just be dead. Instead, they're just cleaning essentially everything up. They're going to put a timer on this attack, so Dark is just going to have to try and get as much damage while this is going on as possible. Now, Dark, he's had plenty of forewarning that there were DTs that could potentially hit his main base. So he should be getting up Spore Crawlers in all of his bases, and he is one in his main, one at his third. Looks like Zest has essentially held on back at home. He's got a Zealot holding the wall while the Adept is shooting at the back. Now, it looks like these DTs may, or these Lings may make it in. They do, as a matter of fact, but Zest, well done, warps in a couple more units. All the while back in the main base, not a lot is going on, so the game actually seems to have stabilized from this point of madness. Now, I still think that Zest is in a pretty good spot, and the reason for that is he's got these DTs, he's got a Prism, he's going to be able to use Archons to attack Dark, and Dark doesn't really have any counter Archon units. He's having to make up a few Roaches here in order to try and defend this, but as the players are on equal workers, as Zest basically defended the attack. Now, Dark has got to defend against Archons when he's mainly just got Lings and Roaches. This is going to be a very tough hold, I feel, for the Zerg player. The Queens have a lot of energy. They can help. I love the Spore repositioning here from Dark in order to defend versus the Prism to help shoot it away. We actually see Zest trying to focus that down as he realizes how critical it could be. The Prism already injured, has to try and escape, and this could actually be a bit of an overcommitment here from Zest. He loses one of the Archons. The Prism does not have enough HP to stay in combat, so Zest can't evacuate that Archon there, and he does lose it. And so far, due to the Queens and Spores repelling the Prism, it looks like Dark is staying alive in this game. He's trying to squeeze out as many drones as he can, and I will use the term squeeze because he doesn't have a lot of production going on right now. He's also got to produce units to defend while this is going on, so it is not an easy spot for Dark. And we do see the Archons dropping at the third base, going to kill off a couple of those drones, and every drone matters in a situation like this. Even going to get himself potentially a couple of Roaches. He gets some, that's for sure. The Prism will end up escaping. Zest goes for a third base. It looks like this game will stabilize, but Zest does have a definitive lead, I'd say. Now, this game just got started right out the gate, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even have a chance to do my usual like goal. So, seeing as how we're 8 minutes into this game before I got to even mention that, let's try and hit 8 likes on this video for 8 minutes into this game. If we could do that, that would be amazing. And of course, if you haven't already, slap that subscribe button, slap that bell icon there, as it gets you notified whenever I put up a new commentary, whether it be Alpha Star or just Pro Starcraft 2. I shouldn't say just Pro Starcraft 2, though. Pro Starcraft 2 is, it's not just Pro Starcraft 2. It's amazing. Now, we have got Blink on the way here for Zest. Behind us wants the utility of those Blink Stalkers. He's making it immortal, the backbone of the Protoss army. We're seeing Zest, he's also going for a solid wall up, blocking this path that is natural. I love to see this. These gateways will buy so much time if Dark ever comes in for an attack. And the potential of Dark going for an attack is definitely there, I'd say, because Dark isn't really macroing up or anything like that. Or I shouldn't say he's like super macro focused or anything. It's not like he's thrown up an infestation pit and is waiting for anything. He did get up a layer and some more gases, however, so he could get Roach speed started. And I think we should see Roach speed from Dark, as he is just making Roaches. He's getting his missile attacks. The question is, will we see a fourth base soon? And the answer, it looks like, will be yes. So Dark, while he took a bit of an economic beating early on, he is just proceeding in this game normally. As I say that, though, he changes his mind. He wants the one with the rich gas on Eternal Empire here. It essentially gives you a bit more efficiency, and Dark definitely needs it. He doesn't get the hatchery started, though, because the Archons just kind of do a drive-by and execute that poor drone. Dark also gets up a Hydra Den, which is quite interesting. Makes me wonder if he's going to aim for Lurkers in the long run, or if it will be for something else. Now, these Archons, they're going to cut up a couple more of these roaches. Zest showing excellent control. That's one of the signature points of Zest as a StarCraft 2 player. He has some of the best Warp Prism Archon control. But now we take a look here. 11 Hydras on the way for Dark. He's also getting that Groove Spines, makes them shoot further, increases their range by 1, and range is important in StarCraft 2. So that's something important to note. Zest is getting up a 4th base around the similar time towards the 4th base of Dark, so that highlights how he's still in a pretty good position. Psystorm is also on the way for Zest, getting his +1 out. The fact that he's getting into Psystorm is very good for Zest, and we do take a look at what Dark has this game. Dark has Roach Hydra, and now we could potentially see like a multi-prong attack coming out of the Zerg player. Say he'll hit the natural, say he'll pressure the 4th. That is some of the strength of Roach Hydra, in which it splits up quite nicely, as opposed to the Protoss army, where it is tough to split up your army and fight on multiple fronts effectively. So we could potentially see Dark go for an attack and try and capitalize on that by pulling Zest apart. For now, though, he is just sitting back, just still producing non-stop. We do see the efficiency, though, of Dark, essentially, of his Roach Hydra supply-wise, because he's really ballooning up in supply. 180 to Zest's 140 supply this game. That's quite extreme, considering how Dark was down on supply earlier. And it goes to show how like this will inflate your supply going for Roach Hydra. Still though, Zest, while he's down on supply, he's got these High Templar, which are very supply efficient. A few Psystorms can completely just end a Zerg force. And now we're actually seeing Zest move out onto the map, which is quite curious. Usually at this point in the game, or in this position, I'd say it would be the Zerg wanting to attack, and it is Zest wanting to attack. But we could head towards a potential base trade here in this game, or it looks like Dark is just going to come back to try and defend this attack. He doesn't have Lurkers out just yet, despite trying to attack towards them. And so he's going to have to make a hold with just the Roach Hydra, which will be tough because it's not good at all versus his Psystorm. Zest, he's got these casters, these sentries. He can force field. Zest is looking for the 5th base. He's going to get that without a doubt. He's got the high ground. He has the high ground. So he's going to be able to deny mining at the 4th base. Oh my gosh, Zest, he even catches a ton of Dark's Overlords there, heavily supply blocking the Zerg. A great pickup. Now we are seeing Dark. He's looking for a big surround. He figures, right, if I'm going to fight this Protoss army, I can't do it head on. He's going to snipe the Prism before it gets a reinforcing Warpin. And Zest realizes how trapped he is. He's basically just trying to brute force his way out of this location, and he does just that. However, I'd say Dark takes a pretty efficient trade. We even see a recall get used by Zest, interestingly enough, just, I guess, to get those high value, High Templar out of there. Quite a curious play. But for now, Dark stays alive. He stays on 4 bases. He keeps that rich extractor alive, which is important for him. So the fact that Dark has stayed alive, he's got up to Lurkers, is giving me more and more hope in this game. If you ever watch a lot of Pro StarCraft 2, Dark is one of the players who is just so good at staying alive with bare minimum. He's incredibly good at stretching his units out and just playing a game with less supply or less units than you'd like. And he does it better than any other Zerg in the world, I can say that without a doubt. Now, Zest, however, is also one of these players who's quite chaotic. He's making just a ton of Stalkers this game. And that's something that Zest will do, whereas other Protoss, they might back off and try and transition into something else. No, we're seeing Zest. He's warping in 10 Zealots. He's going to run them towards the natural of the Zerg while pressuring on the front with his mainly Stalker, couple of Immortals, and Psystorm army. These Zealots, they are going to hit the natural. However, seeing as how Zest wasn't going for an attack, he actually hadn't pulled the Zerg army away, so those Zealots get cleaned up. Psystorm from the high ground, though, hitting this mineral line, denying Dark's mining. And denying this is quite significant here. We also see a couple of Zealots still alive in the natural, the stragglers that survive, pulling Dark's attention away, while the mining of the Zerg is getting delayed. So if we do pull up, we actually can't pull up that income tab, but if we pull up that income chart there, we'll see that the income for Zest is much higher. Zest could potentially even be trying to get up a 5th base at some point. For now, though, he's doing quite well economically compared to the Zerg. Dark is on 4 bases, but he ain't mining from 4. We see Zest go for a nuts blink forward there. He picks off 2 of the Lurkers. Expertly done. He did, however, I believe, lose his Observer. No, he still has 1 here in this army. He needs that in order to pick off these Lurkers. Zest, though, look at this. Just an expert at dealing with these Lurkers here. Moves forward with a couple of Immortals, snipes them down. High Templar to cover the Immortals if the Zerg dives forward. And these Lurkers are just getting cleaned up quite well by Zest. Supply is actually very even in this game right now. We see Dark moving forward with his Lurkers. He's going to burrow them. It might be time for Zest to leave as the Roaches and Hydras try and repel him, but Zest, he's still bit in here, bit into Dark space. Dark isn't mining much at all, as the mining at the 3rd has been delayed. Now, we do see that Adaptive Talons upgrade for the Lurkers, which actually makes them reburrow much quicker, which is very, very important for Dark, seeing as how Zest is diving in and diving out. The problem, though, still remains for the Zerg that the Protoss is denying mining at this 4th base. We see Zest saying, oh, okay, I might not be able to kill you, but I am able to essentially tech up as he's getting up a fleet beacon, probably for a mothership, or it could just be for carriers or Tempest, you name it. We'll see. Either way, Zest is still in a very good spot this game. Seismic Spines is getting research for Dark, which is a very, very important upgrade for Lurkers, increasing their range, which will help Dark reclaim this as, I mean, the Lurkers, they can hit High Templar before they Psystorm as easily. They can help zone out the Stalkers due to their increased range. So this is a very important upgrade here for Dark. But I'm not sure if the damage has been done or not. As we're already seeing Zest, he's getting up a mothership, he's getting up carriers. And Dark has been on the back foot for so long. He hasn't gone for any counterattacks or anything, which I honestly think he's needed a counterattack or something at this point in the game, because just sitting back and mining on his low drone count, on his low base count at this point in the game, I don't think it's going to cut it. So we're going to need to see Dark pull something out of his hat here in order to catch the Protoss player. We do see him move forward with these Lurkers. He's trying to get on top of the Protoss army. The Lurkers, due to their burrowing so quickly, are closing the distance here. Most of the Psystorm is gone, and Zest does get fully repelled. However, if we take a look, there is carriers on the way behind this, and when the carrier number reaches a certain amount, it will just be lights out, I feel, for Dark. So he's going to have to take a good fight sooner rather than later, and he is pushing forward. The Protoss army does not really cut it versus these Lurkers, but once the carriers are out, that makes this a different story. We are seeing Dark push on in still. He's got his units split up quite well. So he's got a force here. Oh, these Stalkers actually blinked. They are nuts. I believe these Stalkers kind of just trapped themselves. Yeah, Stalkers, you kind of played yourself there. A lot of them go down to those Lurkers. Meanwhile, a nice surround there from Dark with a couple of Roaches and Hydras. He's looking to push on in. It's going to be tough, though, to push on in when there's these carriers out. He might be able to get a lot of damage done with his Roaches and Lurkers, but he will not be able to deal with the carrier army. So I think we actually just need to see Dark try and hit every base that he can. He's going to push into Zest's base. The carriers will take a while to clean up these tanky Lurkers here. The High Templar, most of them are going down. They're getting off as many Psystorms as they can. However, we'll see if Dark's able to get enough damage done, but no, it might just be lights out here as there's no detection to deal with these DTs. The Lurkers are dug in, but they aren't going to get a lot done. More Hydras are on the way, but the mothership will stay alive. The Lurkers are going to retreat, and Dark falls in supply. We take a look. A big Zealot warping in the main base is actually what... I didn't even catch that. But yeah, that big Zealot warping pretty much just owns what's left of Dark's base. Dark gave it the good old college try, but in the end it wasn't enough. A really great PvZ, though, between these two expert StarCraft 2 players. I loved casting this match. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed it too, press that like button, subscribe, join the Discord and post your replays or just hang out. And then if you do want to support me as a content creator, I don't have a Patreon or anything like that, but I do have the YouTube memberships program, as it's kind of handy, just built right in there, if you do want to support the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.